Hi everyone, it's Thursday, January 9th, 2020. I hope all of you are having a good week. We have three main stories we're going to talk about. The first one being Australia, second one, Iran. The third is two major elections. Okay, so first with Australia, it's a giant problem. There are 132 fires happening in New South Wales, which is on the southeast of Australia. It's the coast. It's right by the city of Sydney, and Melbourne is pretty close to it too. It's not right by it like Sydney is, but it's near there. And the primary cause of these, which the fires aren't just on the east coast, is actually on the north coast and in the central north and also on the west coast. They've been going on since November 20th of last year. 26 people have been killed. And scientists say a few of the reasons that these fires have started is because, first, overall in Australia, there's been a 3-degree temperature change since last year, and rise is just the average. And this has been due to drought, which has been going on for a few years, and also record heat. And I will have maps of the fires, pictures, and a link on the description. Okay, moving on. The next story is going to be about Iran. This I don't like talking about because it's such a sensitive subject for Americans in the Middle East and Middle East populations in America here and there. So I'm just going to talk about the major events that do occur. So that way I won't be talking about every little detail in it. After the current protests of the Iran general being killed by the U.S., the country of Iran stated that there would be retaliation and that Americans were going to have to pay for that. And in response to this, what the Iranians did was that they sent missiles at a Iraqi base where U.S. troops were, but it wasn't an attack. So it was a warning because they weren't trying to injure or start a large conflict. The proof of that is that they had even called the Finland troops and the Lithuanian troops that were stationed at that base and said, "Hey, we're going to be attacking, so you guys might want to move," and they did. And I'm sure they told, the American guys, like, "Oh, hey, there's going to be missiles." So in this attack, no one was hurt. Like, one building was destroyed, but they had, like, 2 dozen or whatever. It wasn't anything to worry about that happened. So in the Afghanistan election, the two candidates, the winner who had 50.64% of the vote, this was on September 28th, 2019. And the reason we're talking about this is because the final results haven't been declared and certified. The reason of that is because out of the 10 million registered voters there, only about a quarter of them voted, so 2.5 million. And with those, the winner won by the 50.64%, but that number, it wasn't verified. So the runner up, he had appealed the results, and with this, he has been waiting, and there's even been potentially the announcement of a second round of votes. The controversy with these votes is that thousands of people have been disqualified for what is being called biometric match failures, and this is what's caused the controversy of voter fraud and just the issue of this whole election. And the last story for today from Algeria is the election. Algeria didn't have its independence from France until 1962. It's had the same ruling party since then, which is the National Liberation Front. The protesters delayed the vote for 6 months. It was originally scheduled for April 18th of last year, but the problem with that is protesters had stopped that because the current president had been campaigning to have another term. He had been president for 2 decades, but since these protests, they delayed the election for months. The military leader had to declare that the president was unfit to be able to rule. A former prime minister was elected, and the protesters still have not stopped protesting because they do not recognize him as the leader. They say that he's worse than the previous president, and 40% voted on this election. That's how low the turnout was. The protesters are asking for a new political system because they say the current one it's unable to govern its people how it should be able to, and that the government is too corrupt and they won't be able to do anything about its current financial situation. The economy is just too bad and the government won't be able to fix it. The protests are still going on and we will be updating the story. And I'm going to have a new show tomorrow, which is going to be just updates. So it's going to update these stories if there are any developments overnight. And for all of the stories that I have updated, I will be updating them again. It's going to be an ongoing story which we will stay covering. And the stories that we're going to be updating and covering are going to be India, Chile, Venezuela, Hong Kong, the impeachment of the US president, Iran. This has been 916 News. Thanks for stopping by. Forget Channel 10 and have a good Friday.